What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. We hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're excited because the 2023 Dallas Cowboys schedule is out. The path to Super Bowl number 6, Lombardi Trophy number 6, that path, the roadmap that the Dallas Cowboys will hopefully take has officially been laid out. This is officially our schedule reaction video, and this is officially our schedule reaction podcast. So what up, world? Welcome on all to another episode of the Ocho, presented to you in partnership, as always, by SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. My name is, in fact, RJ Ochoa. You know me, of course, from all throughout the Blogging the Boys universe and from right here as your humble host on the Ocho. Before we continue, I would like to let all of you know, whether you're watching or listening, that this show is brought to you by our friends at Righteous Felon Craft Jerky, the jerky that helps fuel your Dallas Cowboys. That is correct. Righteous Felon Jerky and Biltong are available for Cowboys players at the Ford Center Training Facility. Each 2-ounce bag of jerky has 16 to 20 grams of protein, Biltong 32 grams, and each meat stick appropriately has 8 grams of protein. If it's good enough for the Cowboys, it has got to be good enough for you as well. Righteous Felon uses locally sourced, all-natural black Angus beef and prides itself on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors that go beyond the stereotypical jerky offering. Go to righteousfelon.com and use discount code BTB15 at checkout to get 15% off of your order. That is righteousfelon.com, discount code BTB15 at checkout to get 15% off of your order. Look, we're going to be efficient here. We're turning this conversation into a video for the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel, where we are so close to 20,000 subscribers. Make sure you subscribe if you have not done so already. And we are podcasting the audio as an episode of the Ocho because the Cowboys schedule is out, as mentioned, and we have to discuss it. We have to analyze it. I love schedule release day. I love looking at the small little quirks, the interesting little things. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get it up on the screen for those of you who are watching on YouTube. If you are listening to the podcast version of the show, you can check out any one of mine or Blogging the Boys' social properties. We have a graphic available for you, or you can obviously head on over to our YouTube channel and check it out. So I'm just going to fly through this first of all, 1 through 18 weeks, and then we'll kind of come back and revisit the tiny little details. So the Cowboys start the season off on the road against the New York Football Giants on Sunday Night Football. It has been a minute since the Cowboys and Giants started off the season against one another. Like I said, we'll come back to that. Week 2, the Cowboys home opener at home, obviously, against Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. That's right. I'm going to go ahead and start putting this into existence. The Cowboys are starting off their season Sinatra style. New York, New York. The Giants and the Jets, weeks 1 and 2. Week 3, the Cowboys head on out to the West Coast. I guess you could call it the West Coast, to take on the Arizona Cardinals. In all likelihood, the Kyler Murray-less Arizona Cardinals. In week 4, the Cowboys are back at home hosting the New England Patriots. The Patriots have not been to AT&T Stadium since 2015. The Cowboys quarterback that day, Brandon Whedon. Week 5, the Cowboys are back on primetime to visit the San Francisco 49ers, the team who has ended each of their last 2 seasons. Week 6, the Cowboys back in the state of California. I do wonder if this is a possibility. Maybe the Cowboys will just stay in California. We see sometimes when East Coast teams travel to the West Coast or vice versa. That's not exactly what the Cowboys are doing, but still, week 6, the Cowboys visit the Los Angeles Chargers on Monday Night Football. We have that graphic wrong, actually. That's Monday Night Football, so apologies for the YouTube audience. But that game, just to make sure here, let me pull this up, is taking place on October 29th. I don't know why we have that date and whatever all wrong. I don't know what happened there. I know that's my bad. That's the Rams. October 16th is the day for the Cowboys. We just have a Sunday listed as instead of a Monday. So anyway, Cowboys visit the Chargers on Monday Night Football, Monday, October 16th, not Sunday. They have their bye in week 7. Week 8, this is where I got confused. On October 29th, the Cowboys play another Los Angeles team. However, this contest happening at AT&T Stadium against the Rams. That is a noon kickoff on Fox. Similarly, week 9, the Cowboys are on Fox against the Philadelphia Eagles. That is on the road in Philadelphia. So in Philly, first weekend in November, not super cold, not super chilly. Maybe the Phillies will be in the World Series once again, losing to the Houston Astros. I know I would enjoy that a lot. Week 10, the Cowboys playing the New York Giants at home. So they're done with the Giants as of November 12th. The Cowboys then will travel to take on the Carolina Panthers. Perhaps Bryce Young will be at quarterback. I would be shocked if he is not the Panthers starting quarterback by week 11. That game is at noon. And the reason that game is at noon is because the Cowboys have to be able to get back in time, because then their short week preparation preparation begins. The Cowboys host the Washington Commanders on Thanksgiving Day. That game is on CBS. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson, and the Cowboys are doing it again. They're back in action 7 days later, 7 days after Thanksgiving. The Cowboys playing on Thursday Night Football. That game at home against the Seattle Seahawks, a team I really like this season in 2023, like a lot of people. Then the Cowboys get that mini bye. And again, I don't know why we have this going on here, but December 10th, our graphic is a little bit off here. The Cowboys are facing the Philadelphia Eagles. That is a Sunday, not a Monday. So apologies to the YouTube audience. Like I said, things are chaotic and crazy. Sometimes, you're doing these things as the day is moving along. So that's our bad. But Sunday, December 10th, the Cowboys host the Eagles. Obviously, their third home game in a row. That is the Cowboys' second matchup against the Eagles. That is on Sunday Night Football on NBC and Peacock. Week 15, the Cowboys will visit the Buffalo Bills, their first trip to Buffalo since that 2015 season. I have to imagine it will be rather cold. I imagine that's a bucket list trip for a lot of people. Sunday, December 17th in Buffalo. 1 week later, the Cowboys playing on Christmas Eve yet again. They are visiting the Miami Dolphins, so it won't be a white Christmas, I would imagine. I've never been in Miami at Christmas time, but the Cowboys visit the Dolphins on Christmas Eve. Then the Cowboys have another short week technically because they do play the Detroit Lions the next week in their final home regular season game of the year. We obviously hope there are many more to come. The Cowboys host the Detroit Lions on Saturday, December 30th. That game is on ESPN and ABC, so it will technically be probably the Monday Night Football broadcast or maybe ESPN's secondary broadcast. You know how those things tend to be. The Cowboys' final game of the regular season is not known in terms of the exact date. That game will be taking place. Again, we have that wrong here. So sometimes things are going on. So apologies, but that game will be happening on January 6th or January 7th against the Washington Commanders on the road. And the reason that game does not have a specific date is because the NFL likes to leave themselves options when it comes to week 17. In case you do not know, maybe you're a newer football fan, every single game in week 17 is a divisional matchup. So we know the Cowboys are playing the Commanders. That means the Giants are playing the Eagles. That's exactly what happened last year, by the way. Dallas was in Washington. Remember the Sam Howell game in week 18, the Cowboys lost. The Eagles could have lost, and had the Cowboys won, Dallas would have been the 1 seed, blah, 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 all that stuff. Remember, we talked about it forever and ever, but Cowboys back in Washington for the regular season finale for the second year in a row. So first of all, apologies for the little details that were off on the graphic. Like I said, it's a chaotic day when you're trying to kind of catch yourself and play catch up the entire time. But check out my Twitter, my Instagram. We do have the accurate graphic available for you there. And I'll, of course, say these little details as we move along. But the fun little quirks. So first of all, NFL teams used to be able to max out at 5 primetime games. You will note that the Cowboys are actually scheduled to be on primetime 6 different times. Now, technically, the Cowboys could be flexed out of primetime. This is the first year that Monday Night Football has primetime flexibility. It is a rare thing for the Cowboys to be flexed out of primetime. In fact, since the dawn of the NBC Sunday Night Football era in 2006, the Cowboys have only been flexed out of primetime one single time, and it was in 2020. Obviously, a very rough year for the Cowboys. The Cowboys actually hosted the San Francisco 49ers, and that game got flexed out because both teams were so unentertaining. You may recall that the Cleveland Browns and New York Giants were flexed into Sunday Night Football. That was a very weird time, to say the least. But so the Cowboys will visit the Giants in week 1 on Sunday Night Football. That's number 1. The Cowboys then will visit the San Francisco 49ers in week 5. That is primetime game number 2. The Cowboys then 1 week later will visit the Los Angeles Chargers, as we said, on Monday Night Football. So that's primetime game number 3. That will be Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Lisa Salters, obviously. So that's 3 right there. And then we move on over. And I'm going to tell you right now, Thanksgiving Day is not prime time. A lot of people get confused about this. Thanksgiving Day is going to be the most watched regular season game of the year. I promise you that. However, it is not prime time. It is a big window. It is a big stage. There are going to be mega massive numbers, but it is by definition not primetime. Please do not be a person that refers to the Thanksgiving Day game as primetime. There is a primetime Thanksgiving Day game, but it is the one that happens after the Cowboys finish up. Primetime is defined as primetime, 7 p.m. That's the way television works. So that is not a primetime game for the Cowboys, but the one that next week is on Amazon Prime against the Seahawks. That's primetime game number 4 for the Cowboys. They're first at home, mind you. All right, the first primetime game at home game of the season for the Cowboys. comes all the way on the final day in November, November 30th, the 3 prior to that, all taking place on the road. But the Cowboys, this is sweep season when it comes to television, right? This is when ratings matter. This is when all the metrics are measured, and that's why you can always bet your bottom dollar that the Cowboys are going to be in prime time or these big stages around this time of year. So the Cowboys are on Amazon Prime on Thursday, November 30th, and then Sunday, December 10th, they are on NBC's Sunday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's number 5. So they get 2 in a row at home. They're going to get shoved down everybody's throats around this time of year. Then they're on Fox in the 3 o'clock window, America's Game of the Week. That's not prime time, but it's a big stage. Similar thing the next week on Christmas Eve. And then the 6th primetime game is that Lions game at home at AT&T Stadium, the final home game of the regular season. In fact, the last 3 home games of the season, it's that furthermost right column. If you are watching on YouTube, the Seahawks game, the Eagles game, the Lions game, those are the last 3 home games of the season for the Cowboys, and they are on different days of the week. Thursday for the Seahawks, Sunday for the Eagles, Saturday for the Lions, but all 3 of them on primetime, 3 different networks: Amazon Prime for Seattle, NBC for Philadelphia, and ESPN/ABC for Detroit. So America is going to be getting a lot of the Cowboys when they're doing their holiday shopping, their present opening, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, the fact that the Cowboys play on December 30th means that they do not play on New Year's Eve. So while the Cowboys do play on Christmas Eve, I know it's always complicated around families, and we got to open our presents, and we got to, devote time, et cetera, et cetera. The Cowboys will not be playing on New Year's Eve. So at least you have that. But obviously, we're entering a world where college football is going to have their bowl games, obviously, all throughout that weekend. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch when we're all gathering with family. Kind of getting back to some other little quirks and other little things. The bye is at week 7. I like that for the Cowboys. Not the final week in October, but I think that's good positioning because we have this graphic broken down in 3 columns for you if you are watching on YouTube. So if you look at the first one, that is 6 games in a row. That's a tough situation, but then you get a little break, right? You get a little bit of a reprieve, and then you got to make it all the way through that Seahawks game, right? Because those 2 games, weeks 12 and 13, Commanders on Thanksgiving Day, Seahawks on Thursday Night Football, that's a tough stretch. So you're talking about the Cowboys. They got to come out of their bye, and they host the Rams. Not exactly a great team. Then they got to go to Philly. That's a super tough thing. Got to come home, play the Giants. Not exactly a walk in the park either, although Dak Prescott does own them. Then they go to Carolina, and that's where the marathon starts. Those little 3 games right there, and they all happen over a short period of time, 3 games in 12 days. Everybody does that before you freak out. When everybody goes Sunday to Thursday, everybody plays 3 games in 12 days. But I like that because after that Seahawks game, you get that little mini bye. You get that week and a half to rest up and prepare for the Philadelphia Eagles. In all likelihood, that game on Sunday, December 10th is going to be for some serious standing in the NFC East. So you get that little break. That's what I kind of like about where the bye is positioned. The bye, in my mind, is sort of a break after the first third of the season. And then the mini bye following the Seahawks game on Thursday Night Football is kind of that second break. And then you hope that you obviously either have a meaningless Week 18 game in Washington, kind of like Dallas had last year, or an outright bye if you're the 1 seed in the NFC. If you've earned that, that would be your break after the third tripod leg or whatever of the season. That's one way to look at it. But back to the beginning, I think it's important to know, and we'll do a video about this on Friday, looking at things specifically. The Cowboys are favored in an overwhelming amount of these games, according to our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, at least. The Cowboys actually are only underdogs at present time. You may be watching this video at some point in the future, but for me, it is almost 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Thursday, May 11th in 2023. Right now, the Cowboys are only underdogs in 5 of their games, and they are all on the road. The Niners game in Week 5, the Chargers game in Week 6, the Eagles game in Week 9, the Bills game in Week 15, and the Dolphins game in Week 16. Those are all 5 road games for the Cowboys. They are all against teams who were in the playoffs last season. And even then, the Cowboys are only, 1.5 point dogs against the Dolphins. They're only 1 point dogs against the Chargers. They're only 2 point dogs against the Niners. And some of this, I think, really broke well for the Cowboys. We talked about Kyler Murray. We don't know when he's going to play, obviously, if you follow the NFL as a whole, but it seems really unlikely that he'll be playing in Week 3, right? I have no idea what the situation is going to be with the San Francisco 49ers. And to be very clear here, they could play anyone at quarterback and beat the Cowboys. I think we've kind of learned that. But in all likelihood, it doesn't seem like Brock Purdy will be available for that. So something I like to do is if you look at the Cowboys schedule by opposing quarterbacks, let's do that and let's kind of go in order here. Week 1, Daniel Jones. That's easy peasy. Week 2, Aaron Rodgers, holy crap, super terrifying. And it is super terrifying. Before come out here with the like, I'm not scared of Aaron Rodgers stuff, whatever. He's literally never lost in this building. He's literally never lost at AT&T Stadium. Not only has he never lost, he also won the Super Bowl in this particular building. So if this is ever going to happen, now would certainly be the time for it to finally be accomplished. But so that's tough. So you go Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, and then Colt McCoy, who did beat the Cowboys, by the way, on primetime now, 9 years ago, that 2014 season. But so Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Colt McCoy, Mac Jones, probably for the New England Patriots. I don't think any of us are scared about that. And then maybe Sam Darnold, Justin Herbert's definitely, obviously, an amazing quarterback. You have the bye week, and then you go week 8, Matthew Stafford, Jalen Hurts, obviously an amazing quarterback, Daniel Jones. Is it going to be Bryce Young, Sam Howell? And then look at that third tripod, whatever. I don't have a good word to use, as obviously identified a moment ago. You've got Geno Smith, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. That is a tough stretch right there. And again, obviously, those are all playoff teams. You've got 4 games against playoff teams in a row right there. And it would have been 4 either way if the Seahawks had missed out last year and the Lions had gotten in. But so you go Geno Smith, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, and obviously we don't know what the situation is going to quite be there, Jared Goff, and then Sam Howell. So not the walk in the park that it was a year ago for the Cowboys, but all told, I know there are a lot of people looking at this on the surface and saying, oh, God, we got to play the Jets, and we got to play the Niners. We got to play the Chargers. We got to play the Seahawks and the Eagles twice, and the Bills and the Dolphins. Look, the Cowboys playing in a wide open NFC, right? We all know that. We've talked about that a million times. This schedule lines up for them, right? If we're practical, and actually, if you go by the odds, the literal odds, I'm not making this up, the literal odds. I tweeted this out. I'm going to post it on Instagram as soon as I get done shooting this video and this podcast here. But if you go by the literal odds, the Cowboys should win 12 of these games. They have won 12 games each of their last 2 seasons. They should beat Daniel Jones, right? They should beat Colt McCoy. They should beat Mac Jones. They should at least split those 2 California games between the Niners and the Chargers. Let's call that. Let's say they lose to Aaron Rodgers, right? So I've got them conservatively here, beating the Giants, beating the Cardinals, beating the Patriots, and then splitting the Niners and the Chargers game. So I've got them coming out with 4 wins in those first 6. I think they beat the Rams. I think they're ultimately going to split with the Eagles, so pick whichever one you want. I think they beat the Giants right there, so I'm going to give them 7. I think they beat the Panthers. I think they'll probably split with the Commanders because things can always get weird there. The Seahawks, the Bills, and the Dolphins, to me, and even the Lions, I think you got to win 2 of those 4 games. And if you do, you get to 11 wins. Like, this isn't hard. It's not the most, we're not reaching, we're not moving goalposts, we're not being ridiculous or putting together some sort of, wild, fantastical dream here. This is being pretty chalk. This is being pretty conservative. So I think if you told me the over-under, actually, when I was looking up the odds, I didn't even look up the over-under for Cowboys wins. If you told me, I said this last year, if you had told me that the over-under was 9.5, I really would have struggled to identify, to take the over. But if you told me the over-under was 9.5, boom, smashing that over. If you told me the over was 10.5, I still feel very confident. If you told me the over-under was 11.5, I would definitely think about it for a little bit because it's very difficult to win 12 games 3 years in a row. It's incredibly difficult for a number of reasons. Injuries happen. Luck happens. You just get worse, right? Other teams have other luck, good luck, positive things that happen for them because football can be a really weird sport sometimes, a beautiful sport, but a weird sport nonetheless. And so 11 wins, I think, is kind of right around where I feel super comfortable for this team. And at 11-6, obviously, now that we play in a 17-game world, they're a playoff team. And I know I want them to be the 1 seed. Yeah, I want them to be the 1 seed too. But I think that we're talking about and looking at a playoff team, however you want to break this down. And I think that's true regardless of the schedule. But I don't think that anything really worked against them. Sometimes you look at this, and I haven't, to be honest with you, dove into the super particulars of things. And what I mean by that is, there have been several times where the Cowboys have had to play teams coming off their bye weeks, right? And the Cowboys haven't had that benefit working out for them. I remember in the 2018 season, as one example, the Cowboys played the Tennessee Titans coming off of their bye week. And that game was actually on Monday Night Football. That was actually the first game that the Cowboys played after trading for Amari Cooper. And do you know what? The Tennessee Titans were also coming off their bye weeks, right? So to me, if I was in charge of making the NFL schedule, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's easy, but if I was in charge of making the NFL schedule, I would try to make sure all of those things were even, right? Like, I would try to make sure that, okay, well, if I'm going to have 2 teams play each other, both coming off their bye, then everyone needs to have that, right? Like, everyone needs to play somebody who's also coming off their bye. Or you make sure that nobody gets that, right? Like, somebody has to play somebody coming off their bye. Somebody gets that positive end of the shake, some other point down the line. Another weird example, and this worked out for the Cowboys last year. Remember when the Cowboys played the Bears in 2022? I thought it was really unfair. You may have forgotten, you may remember, I don't know. The week before the Bears visited the Cowboys, they were on the road against the New England Patriots on Monday Night Football. That was the Bailey Zappi game. That was the phenomenon. So the Bears were in New England on Monday Night Football. And then 6 days later, the Bears were in Arlington at AT&T Stadium to play the Cowboys. That's really unfair, right? Like if you're a Bears fan or if you're a Bears player or whatever, if you're Matt Eberflus, you're sitting there and you're saying, how come we are on the short week and we were on the road and then we have to travel again? Those are the types of things that I don't think are fair. They should not happen to anyone. Obviously, it's a bummer when they happen to the Cowboys. And so while I admittedly haven't looked at the super intricacies, super details of the Cowboys schedule and what their opponents have before and after each game, on the surface, it doesn't seem like the Cowboys, are on the wrong end of anything right here. I think the Cowboys have their bye week at a great time. I know that some people get upset that the Cowboys have to play on Thursday Night Football following Thanksgiving Day. That's something that they've done a lot of times. They didn't do it this past year, but that is something they have done more often than not, basically since 2014. And plus, if you are upset about that, right, if you do feel like, well, this is unfair, the Cowboys got to play, whatever, think about the three teams they're playing in that super tight stretch there. They're playing the Panthers, who were very bad last year. Now, they did not earn the number one overall pick, but they had it, right? So they're playing a rookie quarterback in all likelihood. They're playing maybe Sam Howell, right, on Thanksgiving Day at home. So that, works out for them relative to the Commanders. And then they're at home again to play the Seahawks, who are also playing on Thanksgiving Day, mind you. So the Seahawks have that same amount of time that the Cowboys will on Thanksgiving Day. And those are not tough teams, right? Like, I'm not trying to overlook them, and I'm a big fan of the Seahawks. I'm super high on them this year, but they're the best team that the Cowboys are going to play in that 3-game little stretch right there. And then the Cowboys get that mini bye for their maybe biggest game of the year to get ready for the Eagles on Sunday. Again, apologies, Sunday, December 10th. That is a big time thing. The Cowboys get 3 home games in a row. So you can talk about being upset, being unfair, whatever the case may be, but it does ultimately balance out. That's at least my personal opinion, but I would love to hear what you have to say. I would love to hear your thoughts on the 2023 Dallas Cowboys schedule. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram to share them at RJ Ochoa. I'm on TikTok at rj.ochoa. If you'd like to send me an email, you can, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com, or you can leave a comment down below and we'll do our best to get to those. Also, like I said, we're planning on doing a video looking at the odds for each of these games and kind of talking about what's fair and what's not, what makes sense, what doesn't, et cetera, et cetera. We're past all the important checkpoints, and I think that's the most exciting part about the schedule finally coming out. The draft has happened, obviously, which means the combine and free agency and everything else has happened, and now the schedule has happened. So now it's just about, you got to go do it. The map has been laid out. The path is there. It's just now time to take those steps. And I think we're all confident. We're all excited that the Cowboys can hopefully do that. And so, happy schedule release day to you. So if you're a podcast listener and you wanted to see a graphic, like I said, check out my social profiles. We have them available for you. Or, of course, bloggingtheboys.com. Wherever you're watching or listening, please do subscribe. Those things help us out. Like I said, we're so close to 20,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. We're doing so well on the podcast side of things. If you've already subscribed, if you can leave a rating, write a review. If you're an Apple Podcast listener, I think Spotify does ratings and reviews now. Those things certainly help us out. Other than that, if you want to do us a favor, just, send love into the world. That's all we really want. So let's go ahead and get out of here. I will sign off in podcast fashion because, why the hell not at this point in time? So I hope all of you have a wonderful day. I hope you all have a wonderful time. I'd actually really love to hear what Cowboys game you are going to. So do let me know. I love to hear what road trips people are planning or whatever the case may be. I don't know if I'll be making it to one this year. My wife and I have a 1.5-year-old, and it's a little bit of a different thing traveling with a baby. Who would have ever thought? But anyway, I would love to know what games you are planning on attending. I hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful weekend, wonderful week, wonderful month, wonderful year, wonderful life. You know why? Because you deserve it. We will see you mañana, my friends. As always, go Cowboys, and peace out.